Earlier this year, I've covered the 3 most iconic Edenians and femme fatales in the series, Kitana, Jade, and Melina. However, there are a few Edenians I left out, which are going to be covered today: Prince Rain, Queen Sindel, and the deceiving Tanya. Their combined 20 fatalities are going to be ranked from the worst to the best.
Fight! Finish him!
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. My name is Nick, and welcome back to the channel. A quick side note before we get into it. Sorry that my voice does seem off. I am currently sick right now, so bear with me. Today, we're looking at the remaining Edenians in the MK series. Through their limited appearance, they easily became some of the series' fan favorites. With their limited run spanning from the arcade era to even today, their finishers really range from absurdly stupid to absurdly awesome. The Edenian finishers are going to be ranked based on its creativity, pacing, impact, and overall fit to the character. If there's one that I do rank low, I'll try to say something positive about it. With that, grab your Prince Crown and Purple Rain album, this'll make sense in a moment, your Tonfa and Dragon Naganatas, and some earplugs as we rank all 20 of the Edenian finishers. We're kicking this ranking off looking at Rain's playable debut, Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Ever since being rumored in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3's Attract movie, fans cried and wanted this fighter to become playable. With the fan demand, what type of fatalities did he bring to the table?
Rain wins.
Probably one of the most absurdly stupid ones. Taking number 20 is Upside Down Uppercut, one of the most outlandish finishers in this title, which is really saying a lot. Where I've bashed Ermac's uppercut as lazy, this is just stupid. They really couldn't come up with anything more creative, like maybe using water to attack the opponent in some stupid way. I don't know. Really, I don't know what else to say about this one. I'm just at a lot of words here. Headed into the PS2 era with Deception, which is also Tanya's second playable appearance. In her first outing, her finishers felt a lot like not Kitana and not Melina, and really didn't know what to do with their finishers yet. This title gave Tanya her signature weapon, the Tonfa, and which makes for the most generic weapon-based fatality we've seen so far.
Tanya wins. Fatality.
Torture Rack stabs into the 19th spot. For as basic as this is, it seems like it's trying hard to stand out with the camera angles and the slow actions for impact, which for me really don't do anything special in the long run. We've seen better stabs from Jago in 1995, which still wasn't that great back then, but at least it stood out with the music cues. I'm sorry, 2 cuts and a stab won't cut it for me. Let's continue with Tanya as our main focus and shift into Mortal Kombat 4, her playable debut. Little fun fact, she was named after Ed Boon's sister. Many of her finishers were pretty lacking here. I don't think anyone will really argue there. But I can say this is somewhat unique, but could have been done better in the end.
Tanya wins. Fatality.
Screwing around at the 18th spot is Neck Screw. On paper, this is a unique idea, as MK hasn't really used a neck break as a fatality until the PS2 era. Where it falls apart for me is the lack of blood or the head rolling off after 3 twists. As much as people rip on this one, I'd love to see this one redone in a future title. Maybe see Tanya do a few twists and then squeeze the head until it pops. As I said, a good idea, but could use a few improvements. Already wrapping up Tanya's debut on the PS2 with her second finisher. With her first being pretty generic, her second is a minor improvement, but still isn't all that good.
Tanya wins. Fatality.
Nebo Knife rips into the 17th spot. Though I find this better than the slash and stab, it's still not the best. Ripping out the femur, then stabbing their neck seems like something a majority of the roster could do. The first people that come to mind to me are Baraka or even Melina. Also, something very minor, why did the tibia and fibula show up when she reached into their femur? Kinda bothered me from an anatomy point of view. This is still the era where they didn't know what to do with Tanya yet in terms of her fatalities, so give it until MKX for her finishers to really shine. Alright, now we're moving into the better finishers in this list. Some of the ones I do rank low are because they could use some improvements to make them stronger. With that, let's get into the rest of the list. Cracking into the 16th spot with the second character from Deception we're covering, Queen Sindel. This queen made her debut with her new weapon she'd be associated with in Deception, Armageddon, and MK11, her Quan Do, which she uses to obliterate the opponent. Propelling into 16 is Quan Do Copter. Quite a funny one from the dark tone of Deception, knocking the opponent airborne to break them apart like fruit in a blender. It's goofy, but it's fun, not much else to say there. Let's take another look at Rain from MK Trilogy. With his first being undeniably stupid, his second is a bit more striking in my eyes. When Lightning Strikes blasts into number 15. It's nice to see the team make up for his lacking first finisher with one with some bright flashes and explosions. However, I do wish the thunderclaps were a bit louder, but still a good finisher from Rain's playable debut. Let's go back to Mortal Kombat 3 Vanilla, or the non-ultimate version, with Sindel, the Killer Queen. This was my mom's go-to. Also, hi mom. When her and my dad would play this game together. With Sindel having this dark power of a banshee, she can scream to her opponent until they're dead.
Sindel wins. Fatality.
Deadly Scream cracks into the 14th spot. Though some finishers in this title are goofy, this almost fits in there, but comes off more dark than anything else. Having the Banshee Scream skin you alive and just having the skin melt away, leaving a bloody skeleton is pretty nice. It's gross, simple, but a memorable one from this title. Let's wrap up the fourth title in the series with Tanya's second finisher from Mortal Kombat 4. Her first was a unique idea, her second is a new spin on an MK2 classic.
Fatality.
Kissing our way into the 13th spot with Kiss of Deceit. Though this is almost like Kitana's Kiss of Death, this does something different to make it stand out. Instead of treating the opponent like Blahnik by making them inflate, instead this makes them contort uncomfortably until they explode. Now sure, it does borrow a lot of beats from Kitana, but I do appreciate it not being an exact one-for-one ripoff like what new characters would have done, i.e. Jarek. From then on out, these finishers are quite good and stand out for each character, so let's continue on. Let's wrap up the original arcade era by looking at Sindel's second finisher. Along with her Banshee Scream, Sindel is also well known for her magical hair used to throw her opponents around. With this, we get a unique way to treat the opponent like Dead or Alive's smash hit.
Sindel wins. Fatality.
Spinning right round like a record is hairspin. I've complained a bit about the comedic direction of MK3's finishers, but this is one of the ones I actually like. Wrapping them to spin them until they break apart is dark, amusing, and unique. Definitely one of the standouts from all of MK3. Let's finally jump into the franchise-saving reboot with Mortal Kombat 9. Surprisingly enough, both of Sindel's finishers aren't remakes of classics, but are completely original, her first being a mind-blowing one.
Sindel wins.
Mouthful blasts into number 11. I do like the innovation on this one, screaming energy into a ball to shove it into their mouth. The eyes and ears glowing as the head explodes with a nice slow-mo shot to cap it off. Now the reason that this one is placed a bit lower is that both of her finishers in MK9 do some form of head explosion with the scream. I wish there was some variation between the two finishers, is just what I'm saying. Besides that, this one is awesome and makes me scream for some more Sindel fatals. Finally cracking into the top 10 with the third DLC character and their third playable debut, Rain. This revamp of the character is amazing. All the classic moves brought back, some modern updates, and, my biggest wish come true, better fatalities. Starting off with an aquatic execution.
Rain wins.
Cutting into the 10th spot is Does It Sting? This is a unique take on the execution finisher, having the knees bent over and then getting decapped. Instead of slicing the legs like Quan Chi did in the same game, Rain uses water to break down your knees into a medical term called the Terrible Triad, where they bend inward, followed by hydro cutting right above the jaw. It's a nice take on an old classic finisher style. It's been some time since we checked in on this deceiver, but we're looking at Tanya's fourth and latest playable appearance in this series. Thanks to the variation system, Tanya has more character than before. Utilizing pyrokinesis, her dragon Naginata, or more like dragon not gonna be working here anymore anyway, and using her Tonfa in a pretty dark and creative way. Stomping into number 9 is Bloody Boots. I think this is a good Tanya fatality and stands out for being one of the more torturous ones than many other finishers, throwing both Tonfa into the downed opponent to slowly approach them, stomping into their chest like Bruce Lee, and then ending their suffering by stomping a giant hole into their face. Quite dark and brutal. Some may complain this is a bit long, which I think could be shortened, but I think it's one of Tanya's better finishers in this series, stomping out her other fatalities. Let's finish off the PS2 era with one more fatality from Sindel. As we've seen before, Sindel is well known for her iconic Scream finisher. Where I thought the classic was good, this is a great way to innovate it.
Sindel wins. Fatality.
Screeching into the 8th spot is Sonic Screech. What I love about this one is how it takes the classic approach but adds onto it. Instead of skinning the opponent, each limb flies off until nothing is left, with the camera shake going along with each limb flying off, which makes for some fun cinematography. Way to shake things up, Sindel. Hey, we're finally making our way into Mortal Kombat 11. Many were happy to see this Scream Queen make her return in this title, and many were quite disappointed with her story retcon, where she was always this evil and not manipulated by Shao Kahn. I don't want to get too much into that today, but I would love to talk about her updated Scream fatality instead. Scream Queen will take the 7th spot. Many of Sindel's finishers involve a different take on the deadly Scream fatality, this one utilizing her hair into it to make it stand out. I love how the hair holds the opponent so they won't fly away from being screamed at. The skinning and splitting of the opponent is extremely unnerving, ending it with a scream ball to break them apart. A good way to spin this finisher. Looking at one of 3 final DLC characters for MK11, Rain. This take of Rain makes him seek revenge against Argus, Edenia's protector, while knowing he's a half-god and a bastard son. On his revenge quest, he also likes to throw in some nice pop culture references. Hydro cutting into number 6 is Power Washer. I think this is a really good finisher with only one gripe I have. Starting off with the positives. 1. Mixing the around the world kick with the Power Washer is awesome. The framing is also really nice. What makes this stand out is the Queen reference when Rain poses. Not only is this a nice reference to Bohemian Rhapsody, as pointed out by Rowan Timmerman, but a nice reference to a popular fan art with all the MK ninjas recreating the iconic image. Now the only real gripe I do have is that the opponent is pretty dead for a lot of this fatality, but I cannot deny how awesome, flashy, and splashy this fatality is. Alright, now we're entering the top 5, which was pretty difficult for me to rank. I do really like all of these fatalities. Many could have tied for a single placement, but knowing that this is a ranking, I had to put it in some order at the end of the day. With that, let's wrap up this list. Let's look at the second to last finisher from MK9, wrapping up the Purple Prince Rain. In case you couldn't tell, Rain's color scheme and title as Prince is a clear nod to the Prince album, Purple Rain. Definitely a joke that my mom and aunt are probably laughing at. While they're laughing at that, we can laugh at this finisher. Bursting into the top 5 with Bubble Burst. Though it's a goofy finisher, it's still a great and innovative one. Making the opponent inflate like a water balloon to explode is just funny overall. I also love the pose Rain strikes once the person explodes. It's a nice reference to both Big Trouble in Little China and Mr. Creosy's death in Monty Python's Meaning of Life. This one is truly a blast. And speaking of blasts, like Sindel's hair spin fatality, we're wrapping up the last of MK9's fatalities with Sindel. As I had mentioned earlier, Sindel's fatalities were both originals, neither being remakes. For a new spin on an old classic, this is a good one.
Sindel wins.
Hallelujah, holy sh**. And grab the Tylenol as Migraine takes the 4th spot. There's just something so simple but effective about this one. Simply grabbing them and then screaming into their ear and seeing the other half of their head just fly off is gross but amazing. Of the scream-based fatalities, this one is my absolute favorite. But it is not my favorite Sindel fatality. Let's wrap up the last of Sindel's finishers with Mortal Kombat 11. We've seen many of her finishers focus a lot on her scream, but not many seem to utilize her crazy hair. It took until 2019 for us to get another hair-based finisher, and the wait was definitely worth it. Earning the bronze medal is Hair Today, Gone Tomorrow. Of the finishers we've seen so far, this may be one of the more gross out ones. Having her magical hair puncture through multiple parts of your body slowly is just disgusting. Popping out the eyes, breaking through the stomach, and more. Capping it all off by recalling the hair and ripping the body apart. Truly gross. So be hairy afraid of this one. And with that, Sindel is out of the ranking. Really hope you like the finishers, Mom. Our runner-up comes from Tanya in MKX. We have seen a huge shift in quality with Tanya's fatalities, some either being pretty bland and bad, and her last two being pretty good. Of the ways we've seen heart rips in the series, Tanya has one of the better ways to execute it. Drilling into the second spot is Edenian Drill. There's just something so wonderful about this heart rip. Flipping around the opponent to use her magic twirl to rip through their torso and stealing their heart looks awesome. I love how it continues with the opponent in absolute shock as the heartbeats slowly die down before the opponent falls over. It's shot really well and the execution is great. And with that, Tanya is wrapped up as well. I'm pretty sure you all saw the top one coming, so let's get to it. Reigning the Edenian finishers list is Prince Rain from MK11. Like Tanya, Rain's finishers started to shine with the latest NRS trilogy. With Kombat Pack 2 being the character's return since MK9, MK11 went out with a bang with this fatality.
Fatality. Rain wins.
Dropping into number 1 is Isolated. From a cinematic and gory point of view, this is an amazing fatality. Throwing a Hydro Destructo disc at the opponent, Turning it into a geyser is an awesome start. The body being skinned and then the eyes flying towards the camera is just a gross out thing to do. Ending it by calling the disc back to split them into 4. And then Rain putting out his hand and catching the 2 eyeballs is just disgusting. Truly a gross out one with some fun elements to it to make it stand out both gory and cinematically. All of these factors are what make Isolated the best Rain fatality and the best Edenian fatality of all time. And there you have it, all 20 Edenian finishers ranked from worst to best. Which are your favorite and which are your least favorite? Be sure to let me know down below. Just remember that these are just my picks and I'd love to hear yours down below. And please don't scream like a banshee if you would disagree. Sharing your thoughts makes discussion a whole lot more fun. Show your support today by clicking the subscribe button, liking, and sharing the video. Your support means so much and I cannot thank you enough. We've got another video to close out 2022. Next will be a top 10 video, something I've been wanting to do for some time. We're going to be talking about guest picks for the next Mortal Kombat game. I think this will lead to some fun discussion, so be sure to tune in once it drops. Until then, thank you so much for your continuous support. You're all amazing, and I love you all. My name is Nick, and happy holidays.